for joining us. You're watching the news in Africa and the world. Let's open this session in Burundi, where the parliament has approved the nominations of the country's vice president and prime minister made by the newly elected president Evariste Ndayishimiye, who was inaugurated last Thursday. Alain Guillaume Boyuni is prime minister and Bazoum Banza Prosper is vice president. The office of the prime minister was abolished in 1998 and reinstated in 2020, making it 22 years of vacancy. As per the constitution, the prime minister is the head of government and the vice president assist the president in his exercise of his duties. The opposition party National Progress Union retained a post of vice president in the new government in accordance with the amended constitution promulgated in 2018. The president of the National Assembly, Pascal Nyabenda, announced that Bazoum Banza and Boyuni have been sworn in this Thursday. In South Africa, the High Court has adjourned former President Jacob Zuma's corruption and racketeering case until September 8 for the setting of a date trial. It was his first time to appear before the Pietermaritzburg High Court since his signaled fiasco in February. It has been postponed to give sufficient time for the parties involved to get all documents, submission and reviews in order before deciding on the trial date. Zuma entails the French arms company are charged over a series of unlawful payments allegedly made to Zuma by the company and his former financial advisor. Judge Kate Pillay said the matter will not be heard in the High Court because it was not the appropriate forum. She, however, said it was important that the trial go ahead as soon as possible to avoid prejudice to Zuma in particular because of his advanced age. Members of the June 5 movement in Mali who are demanding the resignation of the head of state and the representatives of the presidential majority met in Bamako to come to a compromise. The meeting that lasted just an hour mobilized many of the country's political leaders for dialogue that took place in the absence of the movement leader Imam Mahmoud Dicko. No plan to end the crisis have been proposed, but a framework for dialogue has been established with two parties agreeing to meet again, though no date has been set yet. Arab overseas ministers stated that they needed to keep away from a brand new battle in Libya and referred to a truce as the warring sides mobilized close near the oil region as their foreign backers threaten an escalation. In a video conference, they aligned with Egypt to call for the dissolution of the militia and the resumption of mercenaries from the Libyan territory in order to make a ceasefire viable. They also displayed their support for an exclusive political process far from any military solution and rejected any form of foreign or regional interference in the affairs of the Arab countries without giving more details on the country's military involvement in Libya. General Ahmed Gates in a statement said a ceasefire on all battlefronts, especially around Sirte, will enable the Libyan parties to re-engage in the United Nations brokered negotiations to reach an agreement for a comprehensive and permanent ceasefire all over the country. In Europe, despite being the most infected country, the UK has announced plans to ease some of its COVID-19 restrictions. From July 4th, pubs, restaurants and hairdressers in England will reopen. The country's social distancing measures will also be reduced. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, explained the new rules in Parliament earlier. Libraries, cinemas, galleries and playgrounds when it comes to tourist attraction will also be lifted, but nightclubs, pools, spas, theaters, tattoo parlors and remain. In Europe, despite being the most infected country, the UK has announced plans to ease some of its COVID-19 restrictions. From July 4th, pubs, restaurants and hairdressers in England will reopen, the country's social distancing measures will also be reduced. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson explained the new rules in Parliament earlier. Libraries, cinemas, galleries and playgrounds when it comes to tourist attraction will also be lifted, but nightclubs, pools, spas, theaters, tattoo parlors remain closed while work continues. Places of worship will be allowed to reopen services and weddings with a maximum capacity of 30 people. The easing of restriction only apply to England. Both Scotland and Wales will continue to apply the 2-meter distancing rules. While England is easing its coronavirus restriction, Germany's two populous municipalities have gone back into lockdown until June 30. The move came after a coronavirus outbreak at a slaughterhouse affected 1,500 workers. The state premier Armin Laschet said the lockdown will affect 360,000 people in the district of Gütersloh. A second neighboring district was placed just hours after restrictions were reimposed. The new lockdown means a return to measures first introduced in March, with cinemas, museums, concert halls, bars and many other crowd-pulling spaces to remain shut down. Germany has been praised for its overall response to the pandemic, but there are fears infections are rising again. And we end today's edition in America, where former President Barack Obama joined his Vice President Joe Biden on a virtual fundraiser and raised more than $11 million to meet the urgency at the moment, the campaign event of Joe Biden, presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. The fundraiser showed the drawing power of Obama, who remains overwhelmingly popular among the Democratic base and will be counted as a key campaign figure in autumn. That's it. Thanks for watching, and also again, if you can on TV Meet, do take care and stay safe.